Okay, so picture this. Someone starts posting about, like, meditation on Reddit,
Yeah.
right? And suddenly, boom, we're here, diving deep into their journey, like pulling wisdom from their comments.
It's wild, right?
It is wild.
This is the story of telcontar13, and let me tell you, it's a digital mystery wrapped in a meditation quest.
And it all starts with this super cryptic statement: life doesn't exist.
I know, right? Dropped right there in the Enlightenment subreddit, no less.
Like, what does that even mean? Where do you even go from there?
Well, luckily, that's what we do here on Deep Dive. We go back to the beginning.
Exactly.
And it turns out telcontar13 was hanging out in the meditation subreddit asking about something called non-directive meditation.
Non-directive meditation.
Yeah, and they even mentioned, like, I kind of found myself doing this before instinctively. Like, they were already on this path without even realizing it.
It's like they were drawn to it.
Totally. And that's something a lot of people experience. You know, it's like mindfulness kind of finds you and then you put a name to it later.
It's so true. So we've got telcontar13 exploring all these different meditation techniques, and then bam, they discover Vipassana. And not just like dipping their toes in the water.
Yeah.
They go all in on a 10-day silent retreat.
Oh, yeah. And this is where things get really interesting.
Because
Their comments about the retreat, they're all over the place. On one hand, they're like, yeah, this technique is powerful. But then there's this, like, tension underneath it all, especially after they had what they described as a very strong Kundalini experience.
Okay, time out. For those of us who aren't like walking meditation dictionaries, what is a Kundalini experience?
So Kundalini is this concept from yogic traditions, and it's often described as this potent energy that's like dormant, coiled at the base of your spine.
At the base of your spine.
Yeah, and when it awakens, it can be intense, like waves of energy, altered states of consciousness, even profound spiritual breakthroughs, you know?
Wow.
Now imagine having this incredibly powerful experience, but then
But then what?
it's like it gets brushed aside. Yeah, because telcontar13 mentioned that the teachers at the retreat kind of encouraged them to just stick to the script, to focus solely on Goenka's teachings,
Which is?
the specific lineage of Vipassana practice there.
Ah, okay. So it's like telling someone who's just been struck by lightning, just observe the feeling, but don't actually, do anything with it.
Exactly. And if you're already drawn to a more intuitive, self-guided approach, like telcontar13 seemed to be with non-directive meditation, that kind of rigidity, it can create some inner conflict, you know?
For sure.
It's no wonder they started questioning the whole experience later on, asking online, is Vipassana a superior technique?
Which, let's be real, is a question a lot of us have, right? Especially when we're first starting to explore these practices. It's like, which one is the best? Which one is the right one for me?
Totally. And telcontar13, to their credit, wasn't afraid to challenge that.
Which is so important.
It's like just because it worked for someone else in that specific context doesn't mean it's the magic bullet for everyone.
Right. So they're questioning the technique itself, and then they start to wonder if maybe the retreat environment is playing a role too.
Exactly. Like, think about it. You're plucked from your busy life, dropped into the serene bubble of constant meditation, chanting, like-minded people. Anything might feel profound in that setting.
That's true. So how do you know if it's the technique or just the environment?
Right. And then there's the question of how you integrate that experience back into the real world.
It's not like most of us can just quit our jobs and become monks,
Exactly.
although it sounds kind of tempting sometimes.
Maybe just a little. But anyway, telcontar13 seemed to pick up on that too, how the retreat felt like a mini monkhood environment, and how challenging it would be to recreate that level of structure and discipline in everyday life.
Which makes their next steps even more interesting, because they didn't give up. They were still searching for something. They even specifically mentioned being drawn to mantra-based meditation. Yeah, like they'd gotten this taste of something powerful, but it wasn't quite the right fit.
Right. And that's where their journey takes us next. Mantra-based meditation.
Mantra-based meditation. So tell me about this. I feel like there's like a million different mantras out there.
No, there are. But telcontar13 seemed particularly curious about like the power of self-created mantras. They were asking if a mantra you craft yourself could be as, effective as one passed down through like an ancient lineage.
Which is a really cool question. Like, does it need to come with a fancy Sanskrit name and centuries of history behind it to work? Or can you tap into that same, I don't know, energy, that same intention, with words that resonate with your own experiences.
Exactly. And that's the thing about spiritual practice, right? It's not this like static thing. It's alive, it evolves, it's constantly being reinterpreted and personalized. I mean, traditionally, yeah, mantras were often received through a lineage, passed down from teacher to student as these like sacred sounds.
Imbued with power.
Exactly. But that doesn't mean we can't create our own. It's like, who's to say those same qualities can't be found in words that come from your own heart, your own understanding of what you need in that moment?
I like that. Makes you think.
It does, right. And it makes you think about what telcontar13 was really searching for, which it seems like they were looking for a sense of authenticity, for a practice that wasn't about blindly following someone else's path. They wanted to create their own path.
And that ties back to this whole idea of questioning, right? Like not just accepting things at face value, but really digging deeper. It's like, remember that thread they started asking, is there a style like this?
Yeah.
They were describing this type of meditation where you're not trying to become anything, You're just being.
It's a big difference because a lot of traditional paths emphasize, transcendence, rising above our flawed selves to reach some higher state of being.
Right. Got to get to the next level.
Yeah. But what telcontar13 seems to be drawn to is something more grounded, like embracing the messiness, the imperfection of who we are right now.
Which is interesting, considering their Kundalini experience happened during a practice that's all about just observing.
Right.
Right.
Like maybe that experience was the catalyst, the thing that made them realize they needed something more, something that felt truer to them.
Maybe that experience was like, hey, pay attention. This is important.
Exactly. There's a whole universe of experience inside us, and it's waiting to be explored. And the thing is, telcontar13 was brave enough to go on that exploration. They kept asking questions, kept looking for different perspectives.
They were determined to figure it out,
Right.
which is so relatable. We've all been there,
Mm.
questioning things, doubting, wondering if there's a different way, a better way. And for them, that led to mantra-based meditation.
Totally. And you know what else? It's like if you have a handcrafted hammer, right? Or like a mantra that's been passed down for generations, the thing that matters is the skill. Like you said, the intention of the person who's actually using it.
Right. It's not just the tool itself.
It's you. It's how you use it. And in the case of a mantra, it's that focus you bring to it, the resonance, the way it connects you to something bigger than yourself.
Yeah. And who's to say you can't find that in words that come from your own understanding, your own experience?
Exactly. And that seems to be what telcontar13 was getting at, They were searching for something real, something authentic. And that meant finding a practice that wasn't about just following blindly.
It's like they were saying, hey, tradition is great and all, but show me something real. Show me something that works.
Yes. And that's what I love about their stories. Like they were embracing this critical spirituality. You know what I mean?
Critical spiritual.
Yeah, like that willingness to question, to explore, to trust your own gut, even when it's leading you off the beaten path.
It's like they were paving their own way.
Exactly. And it all comes back to that statement that started this whole thing. Life doesn't exist, remember.
Yeah, the big one.
But now, seeing it through the lens of everything we've talked about, it takes on a whole new meaning, right?
It does. It's like they were challenging us, challenging themselves to really think about what we believe about reality, about consciousness, about what it all means.
Yes. And through meditation, through all this exploration, they were searching for those answers from the inside out.
So it's not about nihilism or saying nothing matters. It's more like a starting point, a question to ponder.
Exactly. And you know what's amazing? This journey, it's still going on. There's no final destination with this stuff.
It's like we're all just works in progress, right?
Oh, always. Always learning, always growing, always discovering new layers. And that's what's so inspiring about telcontar13's story. Even after all that, they were still open to exploring, to seeing what else was out there.
Still searching for those answers.
And I think that's something we can all learn from, whether you've been meditating for years or you're just curious about it. Don't be afraid to question. Don't be afraid to try new things. And most importantly, trust your own intuition.
Love that. So to everyone listening out there, what does enlightenment even mean to you? What practices, what tools help you connect with that deeper part of yourself? Hit us up in the comments. And until next time, happy exploring.